You finally automate the work. The ticket count drops, the dashboard looks clean, and somehow your outcomes get worse. You ship faster, then spend nights untangling weird edge cases, rewriting docs the model hallucinated, and patching customer emails that sounded confident and wrong. The rework is hidden, so it multiplies. Trust erodes quietly, so people stop flagging issues and start working around the tool. Costs do not shrink, they just move. And the punchline is brutal. You end up blaming the model for a mess you designed. Moving to slide 2. The biggest mistake is automating before you define intent. You take the current steps, turn them into prompts, and call it a process. But steps are not outcomes. If the real goal is resolve the customer's problem with minimal risk, and you automate write a reply fast, you just replace judgment with guesses. Then you ship prompts as if they are policy. People copy them, reuse them, and assume they are approved. Meanwhile, no one added guardrails like allowed sources, required checks, escalation rules, or what good looks like. So the system produces motion that feels productive, while the meaning drifts. That drift is where failures are born. Moving to slide 3. Most workflows hide the real work inside invisible decisions. Approve or reject. Escalate or handle. Use this template or that one. When you automate the steps, you are skipping the decision logic. Make the decisions explicit, then write criteria for each one. Not vague criteria like high quality, but shared definitions like must cite an internal source updated in the last 90 days, or must include these 3 customer fields, or must match this tone guide. Then tie those definitions to measurable signals. What gets measured is what gets protected. Finally, assign ownership for each signal. If no one owns it, it will decay, and your automation will decay with it. Moving to slide 4. You can spot the early smell fast. Reviews go up, not down, because humans are now auditing the model's certainty. Escalations spike after launch, because edge cases hit production sooner. You see confident wrong outputs that look plausible, so they slip through and cause real damage. Style becomes random across teams, because everyone is using slightly different prompts, or different models, or different context. And the loudest signal is simple. People bypass the tool. They paste into it only for show, then do the real work somewhere else. That is not user resistance. That is your system telling you it cannot be trusted yet. Moving to slide 5. Teams do this because the incentives are stacked against patience. You are under pressure to show quick wins. So you pick the easiest thing to demo, not the safest thing to operate. Demos reward shiny output, a clean paragraph, a neat summary, a fast slide deck. They do not reward boring guardrails like sourcing rules, test cases, approval thresholds, and logging. Process knowledge is fragmented too. The person who knows the edge cases is not in the prompt writing meeting. The person who owns compliance is pulled in after you already launched. So the automation encodes a partial truth, and you call it the process. Owners also fear slowing down. If you pause to define criteria, you look like the blocker, even when you are preventing a future fire. And risk feels invisible at first, because early usage is light, and the failures are small. Then adoption grows, the error surface explodes, and the same shortcuts become systemic. Fast wins are real, but only when they are attached to real intent. Moving to slide 6. Before you automate anything, pick the right kind of work. You want stable rules, high volume, and a clear finish line. If 2 competent people regularly disagree on what good looks like, that is high ambiguity, and it will turn your system into a debate machine. Instead, choose work where inputs are obvious, outputs are measurable, and decisions are low ambiguity. Think, given these fields, choose A or B, not use your judgment. Favor actions that are reversible. If a wrong move can be undone with a refund, a rollback, or a quick correction, you can move faster. If a wrong move creates legal exposure, reputational damage, or permanent data loss, keep it tightly controlled. Also, pick work where errors get caught quickly. Fast feedback is your safety net. A task that gets reviewed the same day beats one that disappears for a month and resurfaces as a crisis. When the work has steady rules, clear boundaries, and quick correction, you can finally write a definition that a system can actually hit. Moving to slide 7. Write the job definition as an outcome, not a task list. Respond to tickets is a task. Resolve billing issues within 24 hours with 0 policy violations is an outcome. Start by naming what done means, including time, accuracy, and customer impact. Set a quality bar with concrete examples. Give 2 or 3 samples of acceptable outputs and 1 sample that looks fine but is wrong. That prevents the system from optimizing for the wrong signal, like speed over correctness. List reject conditions explicitly. If the user is asking for a refund outside the window, if identity cannot be verified, if the request touches regulated data, spell that out as a hard stop. Name who owns the final decision. If there is a policy owner, a manager, or legal, assign it. Ambiguity here creates silent failure. Finally, describe what success looks like in metrics you will actually track. Once the target is crisp, you can map the decisions that create it. Moving to slide 8. Do not document 100 steps. Map the decision points. For each decision, list the inputs required, the allowed actions for each outcome, and the exact triggers that force escalation. Preserve an audit trail of what inputs were used and what choice was made. When you can point to a decision and its evidence, the system stops feeling like a black box and starts behaving like policy. Moving to slide 9. Your data becomes policy, whether you intend it or not. Messy labels teach confusion. If priority sometimes means revenue and sometimes means emotion, you will get unpredictable behavior. Align docs with reality by sampling real cases, then updating the definitions to match what the business truly wants. Tag edge cases instead of burying them. If an exception keeps showing up, it is not rare. It is a category that needs a label. Version your rules and examples so changes do not drift silently over time. Keep a feedback loop alive. Every escalation and every correction should feed the dataset and the docs. Clean data does not just improve accuracy. It keeps your rules enforceable when reality gets weird. Moving to slide 10. Design for exceptions from day 1. Default to a safe fallback when confidence is low, like requesting more information or pausing an action. Teach the system to ask clarifying questions that narrow the decision, not questions that waste the user's time. Route uncertain cases out early with clear triggers, such as missing identity proof, conflicting inputs, or policy-sensitive topics. Limit the tools and actions available in uncertain states. It is better to do less than to do the wrong thing, and when it fails, make it graceful. Use failure messages that explain what is needed next and where the case goes. Reliability is not perfection. It is knowing when to stop and hand control to the right person. Moving to slide 11. If you want AI you can trust, keep a human in the loop, but make the loop match the risk. Start by deciding review depth upfront. Low-stakes work, like rewriting an internal note, can be sampled. Review 1 in 10, measure the miss rate, and adjust. Medium stakes, like customer emails, get full review until the model earns its way to sampling. Separate drafting from approval. Let the model draft, but make a human explicitly approve. That sounds obvious, yet most failures happen when draft quietly becomes send. For high stakes, add a second pair of eyes, not to nitpick tone, but to catch factual errors, policy violations, and unintended commitments. Then instrument the loop. Track edits, not feelings. How often do reviewers rewrite from scratch? How often do they reverse a model decision? Which categories trigger overrides? Those numbers tell you where to retrain, tighten prompts, or route to a specialist. When the loop is designed, measured, and proportional, you get speed without gambling on correctness, and you are ready for real evaluation before anything ships. Moving to slide 12. Before you ship, you need an eval that can fail the system. Build a golden set of examples that look like your real work, including the weird ones you wish you did not have. Score outputs with a rubric, not vibes. Define what correct, acceptable, and unsafe mean. and make reviewers grade consistently. Put a number on the cost of being wrong. A harmless typo is not the same as a wrong refund, a compliance breach, or bad medical advice. Then red team edge cases on purpose. Adversarial prompts, missing context, conflicting instructions, and ambiguous requests. Finally, set launch gates tied to metrics. If accuracy, safety, or escalation rates are below threshold, it does not ship. That discipline is how this starts behaving less like a demo and more like something you can run every day. Moving to slide 13. Treat your AI workflow like software in production. Monitor for quality drift, because real inputs change and models get updated. Watch leading indicators like rising human overrides, longer review time, or a spike in escalations. Have rollbacks ready. If issues spike after a prompt change or tool update, you need a faster path to revert to the last known good version. Keep change logs for prompts, tools, and policies so you can answer what changed in minutes, not days. Lock down access to powerful tools. Only the right roles should be able to send messages, issue refunds, or write to databases, and assign on-call ownership. When something breaks, one named person is responsible for triage, communication, and the decision to pause automation. That is how reliability becomes a habit, not a hope. Moving to slide 14. Here is the contrast that matters. Team A automated the steps. They took an existing process and replaced each human action with an AI action. They celebrated speed, measured throughput, and kept pushing the model harder. Defects rose quietly, reviewers got numb, and the business lost trust. Team B automated the intent. They started with the outcome and asked, what decision are we trying to make, and what evidence is required? They tracked defect economics, not just volume. Which errors cost money, which cost reputation, and which were unacceptable at any price. They routed risky cases to humans, used eval gates, and rolled back quickly when metrics moved. Both teams used similar models. Only one built a system people would rely on, because trust is earned through controls, measurement, and fast recovery when reality disagrees with your assumptions. Moving to slide 15. Use this fixing checklist. One owner, one outcome. Write the decision maps so everyone knows what the model can decide, what it must ask, and what it must hand off. Define reject rules and routing for risky cases. Keep an eval set and a rubric that can block launches. Then monitor in production, roll back when metrics spike, and improve from the edits your reviewers actually make. If you want more scripts like this, subscribe, and comment with the highest risk decision you are currently letting an AI touch. Technology changes fast. Great systems last.